Okay, so here's a question for you. So 6,000 years, where do we get 6,000 years? Well, if you start with Adam, okay, so if Adam and Eve, take the Bible the way that it's written, you got Adam and Eve on day 6, and then in Genesis 5, chapter 5, it goes into the genealogies and where you can track names and numbers. Okay, so it says when Adam was 130 years old, he had a son, Seth. Okay, that was one of his sons. They had lots of sons and daughters, but that was one of his sons. So after Seth, it says Adam lived another 800 years. So that means if you start on day 6, then you take Adam, he lived 930 years when you add 800 to the 130. So he lived 930 years. So now we're 930 years plus 6 days into creation. Then it says when Seth was 105, he had Enosh, and on it goes. So when you track these genealogies, and let me just say a couple things, it connects people all the way up to you and I today, to the United States of America, to you and I today. There's books and people who do that. In fact, this is a book, a 3-foot book, and it literally is a map that was drawn out by a guy, Sebastian Adams, back in late 1800s, and he connected real history in secular world with the real history in the Bible on the same timeline, and just tracks them through the centuries. And it's just, you can tell when this book was written and when the Greeks came, and just connects everything in the Bible. Anyway, so going back to this, what's interesting about this is if you take the Bible the way that it's written, then they lived a long time before the flood, and Adam could have sat at a campfire because of how long they lived and talked with a guy by the name of Methuselah. So Methuselah was alive at the exact same time that one of Noah's sons, Shem, who got onto the boat, they could have talked face to face. And right before, and it says Methuselah died the year of the flood. And so Noah and his 3 sons were on the boat, and so here's Shem, who talked to Methuselah, who could have told Shem, said, hey, I remember when Adam and I talked, and he talked about how the world was before, everything got messed up with sin and with him and Eve, and so he's 2 conversations away, and Shem lived in the same time period that Abraham did. And we all know, we can track, history back to Abraham. So really, from Abraham, you're 3 people away from the first person on the earth. That's awesome. So how does people talk about the Bible getting messed up over time? You're going through 3 people taking the Bible as it's written. It stands up. So that's where we get it today. And then, you've got Jesus, that roughly 2,000 years ago, what's today, 2010, go back to the time of Jesus, 2,000 years, and about another 2,000 years back to Abraham, and then from Abraham back to the beginning, roughly 2,000 years. That's where we get the 6,000. Whether you believe it or not, that's what the Bible, the genealogies track, and that's where we get it. So after the 6 days, you've got the genealogies. So people say, well, maybe those days weren't really 24-hour days. Maybe they were long periods of time. Put the millions of years there, because you can't put them in the genealogies, or those would be useless. So you can't put them after Adam. There's no room for millions of years after Adam because of those genealogies. You got to put it before. That's why they try to change the word day. So what does a day mean? Well, it's not that hard.